morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training. Just getting the setup here. Had a slight connection issue, but that appears to have cleared up. Pardon me. All right. So on our screen here, we've got the dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. To log in, you need your username, which is typically your email address, your password, and then your account name, typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you don't have your password, like you didn't get your account creation email, if you click on Forgot Your Info, flip it over here, you need to put in your email address and then one of the two, either your account name or one of your phone numbers on the account. You click on Reset Password. This sends you an email. And it gets you logged in, and it prompts you to change your password. Once you change your password, the system logs you back out and makes you log back in with your new password. Once you have that set up, though, I recommend for most people just to click on Remember Me, so that way it's one less password you have to memorize, because I'm sure we all have too many. And then we'll get logged in. Now, the first time you log in to Dash, you're actually going to be taken to your account page. So this is your user account page. A little Dash wizard will start up with little pop-ups telling you what different things are. Here, like, you can change your email address, your password, and your time zone are the main things that people look at. If you're a system admin, like I am here, you also have the account settings. And so you can change the account time zone, which is fairly important. Now, this is a test account, so it doesn't have exactly everything that you would see as an admin. In fact, the main thing is, as an admin, you would have another section over here, and that would have your billing information. So like over here on the left underneath where it says user. So you can see things like your plan information or your service plan type, as well as your invoices. You can change your credit card, that sort of thing. When you're done in here, you go ahead and just click on Close. And then you're here on our dashboard. So along the top here, again, if you click on your name, you can always get back to that account page. If you click on or mouse over here on the question mark icon, you can open up a chat window here that will get to our support team so they can help you as you're going through various features. Down here, to learn more, that takes you to the support pages themselves. So you can look at the various guides as well as the recorded training that we have on the site. The online store takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, so you can buy VoIP phones, handsets, or headsets rather, routers, etc. And then the web phone link will take you to the web phone. Now this only shows up if you have a web phone on your user. It goes to webphone.virtualpbx.net. The web phone is usable on Chrome and Firefox, and to log in, it uses your Dash login information. But basically, it lets you use either of those two browsers to make and receive calls. Then we got the hamburger icon or the menu icon, right? 3 horizontal lines. This takes you to other features that have been added onto Dash. Most of these will have to be enabled on some level on your account. Some of them, like ACDQs, have increased cost. And then we have the logout icon here. On the left, all of these are the core features of Dash, which we'll be getting into. And now here, total users, 27. So these are all the people on the account. These people make and receive calls. Oops, and I clicked on the wrong thing. Let's get back. All right, total devices, I have 59. And then a breakdown of those devices, right? Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. The web phone, which I was just talking about. Soft phone, software application, runs on a computer typically. Can be on a tablet, laptop, or even a mobile phone. Again, that's going to be using your internet connection to make and receive calls. A SIP phone is a physical VoIP phone, right? So this is a device that's on your desk, like a Yealink T21 PE2, for example. There are other kind of VoIP phones on the market. So if you're, wandering through your computer store or electronic store, and you're looking at VoIP phones, just make sure it says it's SIP compliant or SIP compatible, and then at least has a chance of working with us. And then landline, pretty self-explanatory. Now, right here, we got the unregistered devices. So this is in relation to the VoIP devices. The system will know if they're connected, registered with us. So if it's unregistered, it means we can't send a call to it, and likewise, we can't get a call from them. Now, that can be anything from someone simply didn't, plug in their phone, to they have an internet outage, and or there could be router settings involved. Next up, we got total phone numbers on the account, and I did that again. I can't believe that. Sorry about that. So these are all the, this will tell you the number of total phone numbers you have on the account. Now, your account, at least for new plans, can have anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your plan price. For migrated customers, your plan price has been grandfathered in, so whatever rate you had previous would apply going forward, unless you change your plan. Then we got a breakdown. So assigned numbers and spare numbers. An assigned number means it's going someplace, right? It's one of your main numbers, for example. Or you have a number assigned to your salesperson, Bob, or it goes to your billing team, etc. Right? Spare number, it's on your account, you're not using it, right? So it's like a number used for special promotions. And so until that promotion goes live, you keep the number mothballed, right? But then you always have it available to you. And yes, even if a number is listed in spare, you would be charged for it if you're over your plan allotment. The other breakdown here is USDID and US toll-free. US toll-free, right, that's 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833 currently. USDID is just a US local number. So that can be a number, say, in San Jose, California versus a number in Phoenix, Arizona. If you're interested in international numbers, you can have international numbers on your account. You just need to email our porting team, so porting at virtualpbx.com. They'll need to know the city and country that you're interested in having a phone number in. They'll let you know if there are further requirements or if they can or cannot get that number or a number there. Some countries like Germany require proof of presence within that city. That's usually just a utility bill. Other countries don't care. Like the UK, you can get a London number without any documentation currently. So it will vary from country to country. All right, conference bridges, 6 here. That means I've enabled conferencing on 6 of my users. I'm not able to do that until I've assigned a main number to my conference area, which we'll go over here. On our right here, we've got your main numbers. So these numbers all route to the same place, and they will all have the same main greeting, for example. Right? They all are going to behave in the same fashion. Your conference number, you can have multiple conference numbers. So basically, this is what everyone dials to get to your conference bridges. And the system will then prompt you to enter the conference room number and the PIN number. The fax box number, you can have one fax box number on the account. This essentially activates faxing on the system. So this number itself is for receiving faxes. When we get to it, you can set up the fax box to say who gets those faxes via email. In terms of faxing out, Dash is currently on email to fax to send out a fax. So basically, you would create a new email. In the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area code and phone number that you're faxing to, the @ symbol, and then this account realm. And then in that email, you attach a PDF or a TIFF and send it off. There's no point in typing in that email, in the body of that email, because the only thing the system faxes out is that attachment. It will only fax out one attachment per email. The largest file I've been able to fax out has been 7 megabytes, but that took over an hour for that fax to complete. So gives you some idea of what's going on there. The company directory, this download, it just is a simple text file. It shows all your users and their extensions. The soft phone directory, this is also a downloaded file. This is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone app. So you would download this file and then you would upload it to the desktop soft phone. It will then, you can see all your coworkers who have this desktop, the desktop soft phone. You'll see their status, right? If they're on that, using that soft phone app for a call, or if they're available. It's just an easy way to see. You can also easily call your colleagues that way as well. Store discount code. So just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount in the web store. Up here, caller ID. This is your main company caller ID. Now, unfortunately, my streaming software here doesn't always show the drop downs, but you can select any of your main numbers. And then you can enter your company caller ID name or CNAME. This is 15 characters, or up to 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. And then once you click on Save Changes, that gets transmitted to the other carriers that support CNAME. It takes up to about 3 business days for them to all get updated. And then when you make an outbound call, your CNAME information will most likely show up. Some caveats about CNAME. Not every carrier that your call can route through supports CNAME. So if your call happens to go through one of those carriers, your CNAME information doesn't get to your destination. Even for the carriers who do support it, it's not a high priority. So if they have heavier than expected call volume, that's probably one of the first things they drop, because their priority is to connect calls, followed by the caller ID for the phone number. And then just be aware that if you're ever calling someone who has your phone number programmed into their device, whatever they program in supersedes anything we send. Down here, we've got the company emergency information, or E911. Basically, this is the address associated with your phone numbers. And again, if a VoIP phone user picks up the phone, calls 911, this will be the default address set to emergency services. And you can set this up for each phone number. You can also associate different phone numbers with different users. All right, hold music. So hold music on Dash is defined as when a call comes in and gets to a user, and then that user presses hold on their VoIP phone, then the hold music file will play. Now in Dash, you can upload your own files. Just find it on your computer and then click on this little blue and white upload or up arrow icon. Dash will accept .wav or .mp3 files. You're going to want to make sure they're recorded in mono, not in stereo, and that they're under 1 megabyte in size. And then you would, after it's finished uploading, you would click on Save Changes. Now, hours is actually a part of main number, so let's just go over to the main number section here. All right, so up here, you got your main company numbers. You can unassign a number if you're not going to use it, or you don't want to use it as a main number anymore. For example, I can just click that on this bottom number here. And now that 866 number is not a main number. Now it's still on my account. It just got moved into a spare number status. So I can assign it someplace else if I wanted to. Now, for any place you can assign a number, right, you can always click Add from Spare Numbers, so you can reuse one of these numbers. Or if you need to add a new number or you don't have any spare numbers, right, you click on By Numbers. You've got your options for local and toll-free. Toll-free, you just select the toll-free prefix and you click on Search. And then you can add a number or multiple numbers if you wanted. And then you click By Numbers. Now add it to the account. Likewise, if you go to local, here you just enter in an area code that you're interested in. So let's see if there's anything in 408. And we do, so then you can click on Add. And so when you add numbers and then you click on By, right, it's going to verify that the number was still really available. and then moves it to your account, activates it, and now it's here ready to go. And in fact, right now, someone can call this number, and it's going to get into my system. Over here on the right, you got the little gear icon. You can update the caller ID, right? So I can update the CNAME information and turn on inbound caller ID name here. I also got the E911, right? So I can add this specific address associated with this phone number. Now, prepend, this is a VoIP phone feature. You can add additional text in front of the caller ID, and this lets your staff know a little bit about that call, right? As soon as they look at their phone, when it's ringing, they're like, oh, this is about the San Jose promotion we're running, right? Because it's a 408 phone number in San Jose. And so, yeah, anywhere that you can add a number, these two options will show up. So you can just add a number directly to where you need it to be. All right, office hours strategy. Oh, and I should point out, if you have questions as I'm going through, feel free to use the chat, and I'll try to either address it via this live stream or just type in the answer. So office hours strategy for new accounts, you start off as 24-hour open office, but most customers are on custom office hours. For each day of the week you're open, you put a check mark in it, in front of it, I should say, in front of the day. And then in the boxes to the right, you put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. You also have this option down here at the bottom, say that you are closed for lunch, and then you can enter in your lunch hours. Next up, we got office holidays. So if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here on the left. Then over to the right, you got this option for add holiday, and you got single day, date, range, and advanced. Each one of these creates a new row. You simply label the row, right? So President's Day, and then you put the month and the date. Likewise for Christmas here, I've got it for December 23rd to the 26th. Right, so as soon as December 3rd or 23rd comes around, the system puts me in holiday mode, and then on the 27th, I will go back into normal mode. The advanced is like this the retreat option where I'm just saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're closed because it's company picnic day. Right now, you can change the month, and you can say, you know, second Friday or third. You can change the day of the week, etc. The main caveat here is for date range, you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. The system just puts you in after hours mode all year because there's no year indicator. Obviously, if you want to get rid of a holiday, you can just click on the trash can here to the right. And if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. All right, incoming call handling. So now we're on our main numbers, and right now I'm looking at my open hours for all of those phone numbers. You also have an after hours tab and a holidays tab, right? Because I have set up custom office hours, so I have open and closed, open and after hours, and I said I was closed for holidays, so the holidays tab is here. If I had kept that check mark for lunch hours, I would also have a lunch tab. So now, this first option here. So for all the calls that come in on my main numbers, they're all going to come here to my virtual receptionist. If I click on the virtual receptionist, it opens up a new window. So over here on my left, these are my main menu options, right? So these are what people press on their phone to navigate through my phone system on top of extension numbers. And then over here on the right, we have our greeting options. To add options on the main menu, you would click on Add Route. It creates a new row, and then you would select the options from the first column here. These are what they press. In this case, that's stuck on default route, and then where you want it to go. So now if I go up here, for example, right, so you can always put it in a directory. You can have it go directly to a specific person, right, specific user. You can have it go to one of your call queues. You can have it go to a specific phone if you want. You can also have it go to a media file. Basically, it would play a greeting file, And then after that greeting file ends, then the call would end by default. A new thing that you can also do on Dash is you can make use of submenus. You can also send calls to groups, and there's the option for submenus. And then you can also send it to a voicemail box. And each of these types have a little icon so you can look at it and see what it is. Over here on the right, greetings, text-to-speech, you just type it in, you click update, you would click on save, and then save changes to the computerized or robotic voice. I usually recommend that for people who have never used a phone system before, or like they're a startup, that sort of thing, where they're still trying to figure out where things are going to go or how they want things to flow. You can upload your own file. Again, .wave.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Just choose the file on your computer and then click update. You can choose from existing recordings. So these are files that are already on the account. For our migrated customers, you should already be able to see all of your imported files. So your existing greetings that were on View Console, as well as voicemail greetings. You can record it over the phone. Now, by default, this is set up to work with a VoIP phone on the account. You would simply pick up that phone, dial your main number. Now, if you're not set up, then when you call the main number, it says there's been no menu set for this option. You would then enter this PIN number. If you've already have a greeting set up, say you have greeting A is set up as to play when you call in, you'll hear that greeting play. You can still enter this PIN number, and the system will still walk you through recording a greeting over the phone. But in the case where you already have a greeting in place, the system overwrites that information with the recording you're making as you call in, right? So greeting A, the file name stays the same, but you're updating the content when you're calling in. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have your standard main greeting for most of the year, and then for holidays you want to change it, you should probably select a different greeting first before recording it over the phone, or just upload a file. Professional recording services. When you click on order, this will take you to a new website hosted by Snap Recordings. They have about 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They have different versions of English, Spanish, and French, so you can do multilingual greetings. They have what they refer to as hold treatment, which is a mix of music and then a script is being read. They handle their own billing. They deliver via email, so just bear that in mind. Now we have some settings down here. Number of retries on misdial. Usually you want this, for most customers, I say 1 or 2, but basically what it's saying is someone can mess up 2 times, right? So they keep pressing 5, which is not a valid option. And the greeting will repeat, letting them try to enter in the correct option. But after that second failure, then in this case, they would be sent to the default route and sent to the smart directory. Now, if I don't have a default route, right, and they get to that final misdial attempt, then the call will end. Right. Now, dialing timeout, this is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes that the person is done entering pressing buttons. Normally, I say you want to put this at like 1 or 2, right? Because usually people are fairly fast about entering an extension number, and then you don't want them waiting too long before they think, oh, something didn't happen. Allow outside recording. This actually goes with recording it over the phone. So like I initially said, right, when this is set up to work with VoIP phones, if instead you want to be able to record from a cell phone or a landline, you would turn this on, right, click on save and then save changes. And now when you call in from your cell phone, you can then enter in this PIN number and record over the phone. One thing I probably did not mention, unless I don't recall mentioning it, this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So the 0907, that only is going to work during my open hours, meaning I can only change this greeting during my open hours. Now, if you make any changes here, you want to click save, but then you also want to click Save Changes. The second option here, call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob. If Bob isn't able to pick up, call goes to the virtual receptionist. And if I click on the virtual receptionist, there we go. Again, I have these same options. Now you've got, again, you can send it to any user. You can send it to any of your queues. You can send it to a specific device. You can send it to a ring group. Oh, you can send it to a media file, right? So greeting plays and then goes. Now, I don't normally recommend the playing a media file because then you essentially have greetings play back to back as the caller gets to the virtual receptionist. All right, so basically, but this is the second option here. This is so you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members a chance to answer the call first. And if that doesn't happen because your staff is busy, right, the inbound caller still gets to the virtual receptionist so they can enter in a menu option or an extension number. All right, this option here, call comes in. Again, same, you can offer to a user, a group, a media file, a queue, etc. If they're not able to answer, then the call goes to voicemail. Now, this has one additional option way down at the bottom. There we go, which is say skip to voicemail. This is typically used for like the holidays or maybe even after hours, for you like, hey, just send the callers to voicemail and we'll handle it later. This account has advanced call flows available. Basically, these are additional auto attendants I had set up previously, although apparently I can't get to auto attendant. That's a little odd. All right, so after hours tab, right, this virtual receptionist is its own setup, right? So it has its own menu options here. You would have your own greetings. So you can set up each one to be differently and to route differently as you need to. And in terms of that PIN number, right, for changing the voicemail greeting, again, it's going to be a different PIN number, and you can only get to change those greetings over the phone when the system is in either, like for my after hours, I have to make sure the system is in after hours to call in to use that PIN. All right, main conference number. Again, I can unassign this number if I don't want to use it anymore. I can add additional numbers from my spare number list, or I can buy numbers to add additional numbers. The custom greeting here is you can put a text-to-speech greeting in front, just say, "Hello, welcome to your company name, conference room," and then the system will take over. You do need to assign a number here before you enable conferencing as a feature on a user. Main fax box, you can have one phone number associated with it. Now, this is a test account, so unfortunately, if I click on edit the fax box, I'll get an error message. On your account, you'll actually have a pop-up with two fields. The first is the inbound notifications. Basically, you enter an email address. That email address will get the incoming faxes as a PDF file. The second field is the outbound permissions. So if you own your own company domain, for example, you can put your domain there, and that way anyone at your company with an email address can then fax out. They don't need to be a user on the account, right? As long as they have email, bob@yourcompanyname.com, right? They can then create an email. Again, in the to field, the plus sign, number one, area code and phone number, @ symbol, and then they need a domain, and then they simply attach a PDF. All right, devices. Shows all your devices on the account. Green means it's registered, i.e. we can send a call to it, right? Red means it's not registered, so we can't send a call to it. And then black means you disabled it, right? You turned it off. Adding a device. First up, we got SIP phone, right? So this is that physical device that's on someone's desk. You find the manufacturer that you're working with and the model number, and then you give it a name, like Bob's phone, and then you enter in a MAC address. The MAC address is unique to each phone. It's often a sticker on the back of the phone, or if you click on when you power on the phone, under the menu status, you can typically get the MAC address from there. And sometimes also on the box that the phone came in. Then you would click on Create Device, and you'll have the option then to assign it to a user. Now, in terms of within Dash, you're done. However, you need to do more on the phone itself. So on the phone, you need to get into the phone's web user interface, get to the auto provisioning section and enter in a URL, basically telling the phone, hey, get on the internet, go here, right? It goes there. The site asks for the MAC address, says, okay, I know what you are and what account you're on. Here's your configuration file. Your phone will then reboot a couple times, typically, and then it will show up as a green device. Now, for the specifics of what you need, that's a guide on our website. So go to VirtualPBX.com, and also for support, select the Dash support. And then under VoIP phones, you're looking for the article called Auto Provisioning Phones, and that'll have screenshots and the URL that you need to add in. All right, cell phone and landline are essentially the same thing. You put in, again, a name for it. Then you enter in the phone number. Now, you still need that. You need the +1, and then area code and phone number. And then you assign it to a user, and then you click on Create Device. Now, when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or a landline, right, that phone will ring, you'll pick up. And you'll hear, this is a forwarded call, please press 1, right? So when you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you are there, and yes, you want to take this call. So if you're coming from the console, that's like pressing the pound key to accept the call. You only need to press 1 on Dash for calls that are going to a cell phone or a landline. Everything else, you just pick up and you talk. Now, if you're sending calls to, say, an automated answering service, right, and so that automated answering service cannot press 1, or if you personally, like, you're getting a call on your cell phone and you don't want to press 1, you just want to be able to pick up and talk, then an admin needs to put a check mark here in front of allow use of cell phone's voicemail, and then click on Save Changes. So what that does, call comes in, rings to the device, we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call, right? So for your automated answering service, that's perfect, and it will then take over the call and handle it. For your cell phone, right, if it's your personal cell phone, if you're not able to pick up for whatever reason, but your cell phone voicemail picks up, we still treat that like a connected call, so that inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people love it, some people hate it. Something to be aware. This other option here that people tend to change is this one, keep original caller ID. So if Mary is calling into your extension or to your user, right, and it's ringing on your cell phone, you'll see Mary's phone number show up as the caller ID. You don't know this number, you're like, I don't think so. I've been getting all sorts of robodials lately. So you let it go to voicemail. Now, if you uncheck this, then instead of Mary's phone number showing up on your caller ID, you're going to see your main number show up on the caller ID, right? So whatever number you've selected under that caller ID at the dashboard page, right? So that's the number that will show up on your phone. And we'll flip back real quick, hopefully. Right, so whatever this number that you've selected right here, right, from whatever this pull down, that's the number that would show up as a caller ID on those inbound calls. So it's an easy way to let you know, oh, this is a work call versus some random. All right, next up we've got soft phone. You get a little warning message basically saying, hey, because of wireless technology, you're moving around a lot. Calling 911 from this device may not actually send them to the correct address. You click close. And now this defaults to a third-party application, right? So you give it a name, and then you would use the SIP username. If you click on the SIP user password box, you'll see the SIP password and the account realm to program a soft phone application, say from Counterpath. Or under the SIP phones, you didn't see your specific model of phone available. You could use these credentials to try to program your phone so you can at least make and receive calls from that phone you have. Right, and then you would click on create device, you would assign it to an owner, and then create device. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone, right here where it says use third-party application, I don't know if it's going to let me highlight it, but below the realm there, right, in this section here, you click it here, And now you say, hey, look, it says use VirtualPBX application. You give it a name, you assign it to a person, and then you click on create device. When you do that, the user that you just assigned it to gets an email saying, hey, your soft phone is ready. Here's your login information. If they're just going to use it on iPhone or an Android phone, right, they just download the app, VPBX phone, and they log in, they can make and receive calls. If they want to use the desktop app, you need to make a purchase here through the web store for the desktop version, Windows or Mac OS, and then you'll get the download link from there. And then the web phone, again, you get that same warning saying, hey, you could be on tablet for all we know, etc. You give it a device name, you assign it to a person, you click on create device, right? So then when next time they log into Dash, right, the little question mark icon here, they'll have a web phone link, or they can just go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, enter in their Dash login information, and then they can make and receive calls right from their Chrome or Firefox browsers. All right, greetings. This is your greetings manager. This shows all of your greetings, both voicemail and your main greetings. Right, you have the name here. You have the source. So TTS is text to speech. Right, upload means you uploaded it yourself, and recording means you recorded it over the phone. You can download any of these greetings, and then you can listen to it. And then if you click on the little wrench icon, you can either rename the greeting or delete it if you no longer need it. All right, groups, right? Shorthand for ring groups. This is for departments. Clicking on add a group, you give it a name and an extension number, and you click and drag everyone over. And then you would click on create group. Once a group is created, you can click on the name. You can always change the name of a group. And then you've got dialing repeats. This is how many times an inbound caller can ring through to everybody in the group, right? So one, they get one chance. There's little arrows here to the right, which I don't know. It's probably not easy to, yeah, you can barely see it on YouTube. But you can increase it as necessary if you want to give people more opportunities. If you click on the members box, you will see all your staff members who are part of this group. Over here at the top right, this is total ring time in the group. It defaults to 2 minutes, and you can change that. If you want it down to 60 seconds, or if you want it up to 10 minutes, go ahead. It's measured in seconds. And then right now I have it set up so it rings in order, right? And it's always going to ring in this order for every call that comes in. Now let's say I don't want that order. I'm like, oh, that's not working. Let's just change this around a little bit, right? I can click and drag people around, and then I can click distribute again. And so now it's going in this order. Additionally, these are sliders, right? So I can do this so that I can have these people ring the entire time, or I can make everybody ring the entire time, right? So that's, I believe the technical term for that is blast ringing, right? So now a call comes in, it rings everybody until someone picks up. Now, downside, let's say Bob here is on a call in this group, and a second call comes in, he will hear a call waiting beep on his side until one of the other staff members picks up. Now, those are basically the routing options that are available for a group. If you wanted something different, then you would need to look at queues. Again, groups can have extension numbers. They can have multiple. They can also have their own phone number, right? So you can add from spare. You can buy numbers. Now, that's one of the advantages groups has over queues is that they can have both, where a queue can only have either an extension or a phone number. But again, both groups and queues can also be a menu option off of your virtual receptionist or your auto attendants. And the other thing is for group members, they can receive calls on any device. For ACD queues, they can only receive calls with a VoIP device currently. So if you have lots of people making use of cell phones and landlines, you probably want to stick with groups. Group features. All right, yeah, ring back. So while people are waiting waiting for one of your staff members to pick up for 2 minutes, you can have a file playback, right? Upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte, and then click the little up arrow icon. And next action, if you enable this, like, okay, no one's able to pick up, what do you want the system to do with the call? Typically, you can go to a voicemail, but again, you can send it back to your main menu. You can send it to a specific device. You can send it to a user. You can send it to another group or voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're basically allowing your users to make use of call forwarding, right? So they're not at the phone that they're normally at. They're out on the road hitting customer sites. They can still take calls. The main thing is for call forwarding that the device they're forwarding to shouldn't be a device already on their user. All right, caller ID prepend. Again, this is for VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID to give your staff members an idea what the call is about. Right, this will show up on the phone's display. Numbers, this shows your numbers on the account and where they're going. Right, you always have the little gear icon again. So again, you can set up the caller ID, the E91, and prepend for each number if you are so inclined. If you go to spare numbers, this is where you would get rid of a number. So for example, if I don't want this 321 phone number any longer, I click on the little box in front of it, and now I've got a little delete option. I click on delete, I confirm it. It says, hey, look at that, your number was deleted, it's no longer on your account, and I'm potentially saving numbers. Now I can buy numbers here, well, local and toll free, but this will just put them here in the spare number list, so I can use them later. Port a number, that just means you're moving a number from another carrier to VirtualPBX, right? So from AT&T to VirtualPBX, you would begin the new port request, and you would follow the on-screen instructions. Basically, click on next, and then it's going to ask you to start uploading PDF files. The first thing is it wants a bill, and then it wants a completed LOA, or letter of agency. The main thing about the letter of agency, it's going to ask you for company information. That needs to match what the current carrier has on file, right? So whatever AT&T has on file for you. It does ask for a signature that can be actually, hand done, or it can be a digital signature. It just can't be typed. And then it does need to include the phone number or numbers that you're porting to us. Now, if you're going to port a phone number that goes to a cell phone, you're likely also going to need an account PIN number that you get from your cell phone carrier. That's just one of the requirements for mobile numbers. It's a security feature, so that way your cell phone doesn't just suddenly stop working unless you know about it. And in fact, once the port completes, the cell phone won't work because the phone number associated is now on your Dash account. So if you wanted that cell phone to keep working, you would need to get a second phone number from your cell phone provider. Now, if for some reason you upload it or it doesn't feel like the submission did not go through, you can email porting@virtualpbx.com. We'll still need those documents, but then we can still process the port. And when you do submit, you should end up getting 2 emails. You'll get an automated email from the system saying, hey, you submitted your documents. And then by the next business day, you should get another email from our porting team saying, hey, we've received your documents. Here's what to expect about the porting process. It's a little bit more detail there. So if you don't get that second email, you definitely want to contact our porting team or just email them with the documents. All right, users, this is where you add more users to the account. You click on add user. You can put in their name. The email address used for login needs to be unique for each user. And then you create a password, and then you enter an extension number. Now, on this account, I started with extension 1000, so it's telling me the next available in that sequence is 1021. I can make this something different. right? I can make it 8210. And then you have these 4 options, right? Create a voicemail box for this user. That voicemail box that gets created is intrinsically tied to the user. So like if you assign a VoIP phone to the user, they can pick up the VoIP phone and hit *98. That goes directly into the voicemail box that was created for them. If you don't create a voicemail box for the user and then create one manually, you're not able to do that same kind of tie-in to the user. All right, now, so then you've got the option to include in the company directory or the smart directory. Send emails to an alternate address, right? So this would, if you put an email, put a check mark here and put an email address here, this will supersede anything that would get sent to the login email address, right? So the login email address, by default, that's where voicemails will get sent to, for example, as well as password recovery. And then probably the most important one is this last one here, send credentials to the user, so that way they can get their username as well as their password. And then you click on create user if you just need to create one person. If you need to add more, then you would create user and add another. Now the gray icon person, that's just a standard user. Right, blue suit is a system admin. If you click on a person's name, you can change their name. You can click on change credentials here, change their email address and their password. You can also send them the password recovery email. So let's say Bob here can never remember passwords that I create for him. And he ends up thinking me, hey, I couldn't get in. I can just say, hey, click here. He gets an email. He can create his own password. And then click on Save Changes. The voicemail box PIN. Now, if your users are VoIP phone users, you don't need to create a PIN number for their voicemail boxes. They can do that themselves. Again, they can do that *98 from their VoIP phone, and the system will prompt them to create a PIN number as well as record a voicemail greeting the first time they log in over the phone like that. For your cell phone and landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them so they can access their voicemails. Again, here's the option to send to alternate address and the option for the company directory. Over here on the right, this is a pull down, which you can change a user to become an admin or vice versa. This pull down here is for the time zone, so you can set the time zone for users that are in different locations. This is the language that dash displays in, English, French, German, and Russian. Next up, you got the ringing timeout. By default for a new user, it's 20 seconds. This one was set to 45. And also by default, when calls come into a user, it rings all the devices for this time, right? So in this case, 45 seconds. Now, 20 seconds, plenty of time to get to most VoIP phones and landlines. Cell phones, it might be problematic, right? So as far as a phone system is concerned, and actually in general, it takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than to a landline, for example, right? So when a call goes to a landline, that telecom company knows exactly where that call is going, right? Because it's fixed location. So just send it the call, no problem. When a call comes into your cell phone carrier and looking for you, right, your cell phone carrier has to find you first, right? Pings off the various cell towers, like, oh, there you are. Then it sends that call. That delay is why sometimes 20 seconds as a ringing timeout is not enough time for your phone system to get a call to a cell phone versus a landline. So that's why you would want to up it to like 45 seconds, for example. And then you can assign another extension to a user. And in fact, you can click here, add additional extensions to a user. Likewise, under phone numbers, right, you can add from spare or by a number. You can add devices directly to a user. Right, you can either add from spare, meaning you already have the device and you want to assign it to them, or you can add a new device. Again, you have these same options. And then you have these user features. So first is caller ID number. This applies to any user that has their own phone number. And when you enable it, you're basically, what they're saying is when they make an outbound call, this is the caller ID that shows up instead of your main number. So probably usually advantageous for like your salespeople. So that way their sales leads call them directly, right? Call forwarding, you have off, on, or failover mode. Failover mode is for your VoIP phone users, but if you turn it on, you basically say, hey, forward calls to, say, a mobile phone number, and then I put in +1 area coded number, and then I click on Save Changes. Now, this call forwarding feature, this is something your users can set up themselves, right? Through the user portal, they can do this. If they're using VoIP phones, there's a feature code set that allows you to turn on call forwarding as well as set up call forwarding directly on the phone. So as an admin, it's not something you have to set up for them. Now, for failover mode basically says, hey, the system says detects that your VoIP phone went unregistered, and a call happens to come into the user at that time, it will automatically forward the call to your mobile or other phone. Right now, this mobile phone should not be a device on my user. All right, hot desking. Again, this is a VoIP phone feature. This is in an instance where you're in a shared office environment where you may be switching desks from day to day. So on Tuesday, I'm sitting at desk 7. I hit on the VoIP phone, I hit *11. That's the toggle on hot desking. The system will ask me for the hot desk ID. I say usually just make this default extension numbers. Up to you if you want to make them require a PIN. But I entered in my hot desk ID. The system then tells me calls will be sent to this phone. Right? I go about my day. I get my calls off the phone I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I hit *12 on my phone. That turns off hot desking. Right? Wednesday rolls around. I come walking in. Someone's at desk 7. I'm like, oh, well, desk 11. You're the winner today. Again, hit *11 on the phone, enter my hot desk ID, and now I'm getting calls on that phone that I'm sitting at. All right, voicemail box, because I created a voicemail box with this user. Fax box, you can set up individual fax boxes for your users. This is typically for inbound faxing, right? So you have specific users that get lots of faxes. You can select from a spare number. You can buy a new number. You can also assign a new extension. I usually recommend making use of a phone number just because it's easier for the person faxing. This might be unique to me, but basically from my memories of faxing, I would go to the fax machine, enter the fax number, put the document in, hit send fax, and I'd go get coffee. Right, come back later to check to see if the fax went through. If you assign an extension number, right, the system says, hey, here's your list of extensions. You can do a search, right, for extension, but you put in an available extension number, and then you clicked on select extension. That will assign that extension to your voicemail box. So then the person faxing has to contact, dial your main number. At the greeting, enter in your fax extension, and then hit send fax. For some people, that's not a big deal. For other people, that might be. All right, conferencing, or the conference bridge. Again, you have to have the conference number already assigned. You just click enabled, and it shows you your conference number. You enter in, by default, it uses your extension as your conference room number, and then you need to enter in a PIN number. And then you click on Save Changes. Now, the user can also adjust their PIN numbers via the user portal, which we will get to. Follow Me. This is for people with multiple devices. So I've enabled it, and right now everything rings for basically one ring. Now, by default, it actually starts you off as do not ring, even after you enable it, right? Because it's saying, okay, what devices do you want it to go to? So you select the devices that you want to use. Up here, again, kind of like the ring groups, right? This is your total ring time. And you also have this distribute option. So I can ring it in this order. I can click and drag it, saying, hey, ring these VoIP devices first, and then this VoIP phone or the cell phone. And likewise, I can also just say, hey, ring them all the whole time until I pick up, whichever preference you want. Now, this is something admins can do, right? Users cannot do this themselves. It's kind of a big difference from the console. Music on hold. You can have users have their own hold music. You can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, under 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. Customized call recording. So when you first enable it, it actually puts it like this, which basically says, hey, you're actually not recording because the account default is off. But basically, you need to choose which recordings you're going to have recorded. So inbound internal means coworker Bob gave me a call, right? Inbound external means customer Bob gave me a call, right? Whereas outbound internal, I called Susie, my coworker Susie in billing, and then outbound internal means I called my customer Mary back. And then you click on Save Changes. And then you have Do Not Disturb. Basically, as an admin, you're telling, hey, send and calls come to this user, send them directly to voicemail. All right, voicemail boxes. So this shows all the voicemail boxes on the account. The ones associated with users do have their name in the user field. You can create your own voicemail boxes here. Right, you give it a name, give it a voicemail box number and a PIN number, and then you click on Create New Voicemail Box. And you would do that for, say, like your ring groups. So instead of assigning someone's personal voicemail box to a group. Once you've created a voicemail box, you can go to the greeting media. Now, this is standard for all voicemail boxes. So the media file, this is your default, right? This plays basically every day. Again, you can upload a file, .wav.mp3, under 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. The temporary file, right? If you select something here, this will supersede the media file, right? So like this is like the vacation voicemail message. So as an admin, you set it up so that way, okay, Bob's on vacation, but it's put in the generic vacation voicemail message. And then when Bob comes back, you set this back to none and select the appropriate file here. Recipients. Now, for your user voicemail boxes, they're automatically getting sent to that user email address. You can add additional people to the recipient list for voicemail box, right? And obviously, you want to create one here for your manually created ones, so that way someone gets notified when a new voicemail comes in. So when you have those two things done, you can then make sure this is checked for already set up. The other thing that comes up is this one here, delete after notification. This is enabled by default. So voicemail boxes on Dash, they can hold up to 100 messages. After that, if someone tries to leave a message, they get that message saying, voicemail box is full, please try again later. Now, if you have delete after notification, if you leave this on, then what happens is, right, the system emails the user, hey, you got a voicemail, and here's an attachment. They can just double click on it and listen to it in MP3. And with delete after notification checked, that voicemail is then deleted off the system, so the voicemail box won't get full. And if for some reason you don't want your staff members to get the email attachment, right? You don't want them to get the attachment, you can uncheck this other option here. All right, advanced routing. It shows up here. There we go. So direct inward system access for your vConsole customers. This, if you enable this feature, this allows you to dial into your system from, say, a cell phone or a landline, and then make an outbound call using the system's caller ID. So you would first enable this. You have a PIN number here. You click on Edit Settings. You can change the PIN number to something else. And then I say normally just add an extension number. Save changes. So now, on any of your main numbers that ring into the virtual receptionist, right, you call in from your cell phone, you enter in extension 1021, and then you enter in the PIN number, and then you'll hear dial tone again. So then you enter one area code and phone number, you dial out, and the caller ID that shows up is your main number under that dashboard setting. Now, if you don't want this on because you don't want people calling into your system and making outbound calls without you knowing about it, you would simply disable this feature. Likewise, if you had auto route rules that went to like voicemail boxes or users, they would also show up under this heading, as well as if you have select route. they would show up here as well. Call logs, right? This shows your call activity on the account. You can click on a call to see where it goes, basically which devices it rang to, and the resulting actions there. Usually when you see something like this, it went to voicemail. If you click on the little fire hydrant here, this reports the call. It creates an email. It has the technical details of the call. I would suggest in the body of that email, you enter in what you experienced or what you were doing, right? So like you can say in this case, hey, this call says it came in, my phone didn't ring, right? So then we can try to take a look and see what's going on. And that email goes to our support team. Feature codes, I've mentioned a couple of these on this training. These are just essentially dial pad shortcuts on your phone you can use to make use of various features, right? So here's the call forwarding one that you can set up directly on your phone, right? Here's hot desking that I talked about earlier, as well as a few others. All right, so this has all been under the dashboard. Next up, we got ACD queues. ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution, call center feature. It's an advanced version of the ring groups. Now on queues, you can only receive calls on a VoIP device. Whereas in a ring group, you can get them on cell phones or landlines. Sorry, someone's pinging me here about something. All right. So creating a queue, you would just click on Add New Queue. And basically what that does is if we click on the arrow, that's first you set up the queue name, and then you give it either an extension or a phone number, right? One or the other. And then you've got queue routing strategies. Unfortunately, the pull down is not working here. So round robin equalizes out over time for all the users that are logged in. You can ring all, right? Ring everybody at the same time. You have most idle. So whoever's been waiting for the call the longest gets the next call that comes in. And then you've got least offered, meaning who's been offered calls the least, right? So Mary's been offered 5 calls, Bob's been offered 20 calls. The next call that comes in goes to Mary. Now, in that same situation, you also have least calls. That's the least amount of connected calls. So if Mary has spoken to all 5 of her offered calls, but Bob's only spoken to 2 of his 20 under least calls, Bob gets the next call that comes in. Right, hold treatment. You can upload a file, this .wav, .mp3 recorded in mono. Now, we also have ACD Queues Pro. The hold treatment on ACD Queues Pro, you can do things like announce the wait position, estimated time before they're answered, and then you can intersperse that with different media files if you wanted to. All right. Queue timeout. This is how much time inbound callers can wait on hold, measured in seconds. The queue limit, you can limit the number of callers in the queue. If you have it at 0, there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty, if you click enabled. What this means is if you have no staff members logged in and a call comes into the queue, it will treat them as if they've already hit this timeout limit. And then you've got escalation queue. Basically, you can send callers to a second queue if your staff members are busy. And then the escalation call flow after timeout. Basically, after that 3,600 seconds, what do you want the system to do with the calls? You can send it to one of your auto attendants. You can send it to a specific device. And if you scroll down, Right? Oops. You can send it back to the Smart Directory. You can send it to one of your ring groups. You can send it to a media file, which seems kind of not a great idea in my opinion. You can send it to a specific user, and you can also send it to a voicemail box. Then you have agent behavior. Agent recovery time measured in seconds, usually 15 to 30 is what is I typically see. But basically, after an agent is done with a call, right, then this timer would kick in before, and so say 15 seconds, and then the system wouldn't offer them another call from the queue for 15 seconds, and then afterwards it would, right? So they have time to add notes to a support ticket or to a CRM entry. Force away on reject or missed means if an agent misses a call, the system will automatically put them in away mode, meaning they won't be offered calls anymore. And then that user would then have to mark themselves as ready to get called again. And then agent connect timeout in 20 seconds, basically how much time we try to offer them a call. Now over here on this icon here, this is where you deal with your members or the staff members who will be part of the queues. And then you click on manage members. So list on the left, these are all the people on your account who are not yet in the queues. List on the right, these are all the people who can be in your ACD queues, right? If you want to click on to add more, you click on their name and then you click on add as members. And then likewise, you can click on someone here and remove them as a member. Right, now, if you go back to queues, so if you click on a queue's name here, right, you can add agents. So I have these two people here. I can add these other people by clicking and dragging them over and then clicking on save. I think I clicked on save, or maybe it didn't. Likewise, to add a manager to a queue, right, they already have to be a member of the queue. So I can do this and then save changes, although the save button is dropping off the screen. Now, for your staff members, when they log in, right, they would click on ACD queues. They're probably not going to have all the settings because most of the time you're not giving them admin access. But they would click on begin session. So now I'm logged into the queue. Now I'm defaulted to away, meaning I can't take any calls, right? So I can then mark myself as ready. And so now I can take calls. You can see I'm here. And I'm green, meaning, hey, I'm waiting for a call, right? If I'm blue, that means I'm on an inbound call. Red means I've marked myself away. There's yellow for meaning you're on an outbound call or external call. And then there's a gold color, which is you're on wrap-up time. Now, up here, agents also have this little phone icon. And they can select the devices that they're going to receive calls on. Again, they can only make use of VoIP devices. And then at the end of the day, they can simply hit end session, and they're out of the queues. All right, blacklists. If you made use of auto route on vConsole to block numbers, this is what blacklists will do for you. You click on edit blacklists. You click add if you don't have a list already in place. Otherwise, you click on an existing list. You give a name. Block anonymous means if we don't get valid inbound caller ID, we're going to block the call. Otherwise, you would click on add number, and then you put +1 area code and phone number, and keep clicking add for all the phone numbers you want. Then you would click on save. you go back to settings, and then here you make sure it's over here on the right under selected, right? So if I do this, it means I have no rules in place, right? But if I move these two rules over here to the right and I click update, now any phone number on these two lists, when they try to call into any of my phone numbers on my account, they get a busy tone, so they're not getting through. All right, faxes. As an admin, you can get to the fax manager, meaning you can get to any fax box on the account. So you can see their inbound faxes as well as their outbound faxes. Again, this being a test account, I'm not expecting much. You can also get the email to fax log. Now, this is basically will show you any errors people had in terms of faxing out. And there's a little eyeball icon over here. If you click on this, it'll give you greater details. The monitor, typically it's not enabled on a lot of accounts, but basically allows you to show the status of your staff members, right? Green, waiting for a call, blue on an inbound, red marked away, etc. The recording manager, if you've enabled call recording, this will take you to the recording manager site, which is just recordings.virtualpbx.com. It uses your Dash login, and then you can see your call recordings. Unlike vConsole, call recordings on Dash, they don't automatically get deleted in 14 days. It's just a matter of your storage limit, which I believe is anywhere from 1 to 2 gigabytes, depending on plan. Reports, this is advanced reporting. So this is more similar to the vConsole reports versus the call logs that I showed earlier. This is in beta, and if you're a new sign up, it's something you would need to talk to your salespeople about because it does have a fee associated with it. But it does have more granular effects, I guess, or aspects to the reports. All right, user portal. Every user on your account has their own user portal. So you see here, it defaults me to voicemail. Now, I temporarily turned off delete after notification so I can say, hey, I have a new voicemail message. This is the date it came in and the time. Here's who it came from. Here's the number they called. Here's how long it is. I can play back the message. I can also download the message. Now, if I click on the little box in front of it, now I have these options of to say, hey, it's been listened to, leave it as new, as well as I can mark it new, mark it as listened, or mark it for deletion. Call history shows your history of calls coming in and out from your user. Faxes, again, you can see your faxes in and out. The contact list, this is all the information on your Dash account, right? So you can see other users, you can see the groups, etc. Now, this is not something you can add to yourself. Like you could not add, like your salespeople couldn't add their clients to this list, right? This is just within the Dash account. If you click on conference, this takes you to your conference management page. You see here you can adjust your PIN numbers, right? So for my particular user. Up here, I can invite other Dash. All right, sorry about that. Looks like we had a connection problem there. Anyway, so here I can lock the conference. I can mute everybody. I can unmute everybody. And I can also end the conference. Now, when you're actually in a conference on participants, you can actually mute a specific person as well as kick a specific person. And then you also have these options here to like play a tone when people enter and leave, etc. Now, under settings and devices, this is where your users can set up their own call forwarding. Put a check mark, and they can enter in the settings here, and then click on save, and they can see the status of their devices. Voicemails, again, this is an admin access. They can get to any voicemail box on the account and see what messages they have. Right, and again, you can get that same information. And then webhooks, this makes basically lets you use APIs to link Dash to other software. we have examples of what to do for this under developer.virtualpbx.com. If you're interested in webhooks, you're going to want to contact our sales team as they have additional information about how to make use of that. All right, and that is pretty much everything. Now, at some point, I did have auto attendance available on this account. I'm not sure why it's disabled. If you look at last Monday's live stream, you can view that live stream to see how to set up additional auto attendance. But the additional auto attendance, that allows you to do sub-menuing, right? Because you can make it available under your main menus. And then, so basically someone can press like say on your virtual receptionist, you press option 4, and you have that set to one of your other auto attendants. When the caller goes to option 4, they hear a second greeting, and then they have a whole new set of menu options to choose from. So yeah, I'll have to find out why that's not showing up here right now. But beyond that, I'll hang out here for a couple minutes in case people have questions in chat. I haven't seen any pop up yet. Beyond that, I thank you for your time today. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Again, I thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.